Hello guys, it's Memorizer92, and today we are gonna dive deeply into the skill set of Destroyer. For those who haven't seen my Destroyer guide, please watch that one in advance. I will go over 4 sets of skill today. First one, Raid skill set for Hammer of Rage. Second, Raid skill set for Gravity Training. Third, Chaos Dungeon skill set, and lastly, the PvP skill set. The skill set that you can see below is what I think is the best set for Hammer of Rage engraving, because this skill set has high stagger along with high destruction, and it has stagger synergy and party synergy as well. It also has counter skill and skills that are immune to knockout attacks. And above all, the DPS cycle between blue and purple skills is well balanced, despite having all those advantages that I've referred. The first skill is called Heavy Crush. If you watched my video, the previous video about Destroyer Guide, I've mentioned that this tripod right here is called Lucky Core, and it gives you a certain chance to charge additional core instead of one. And most of the blue skills has this tripod. So the tripod you want to go for the second one is obviously the Lucky Core. The first one is this one. This one enables you to reduce the time of the motion, the skill motion. And this one allows you the additional damage after hitting this skill, but honestly, it doesn't do much. I mean, the damage is very small. So you can go either this one, which increases the range of the skill. The rune you want to go for this skill is called Quick Recharge. Since Heavy Crush has short cooldown, you will benefit from this Quick Recharge rune because this rune enables you to reduce the cooldown of other skills, so it has higher chance to activate this rune. The next skill is called Jumping Smash. Jumping Smash allows you to move forward, and it also has high stagger and high destruction. As you can see on the second tripod, it has a Lucky Core, which you obviously have to go for. And here on the first tripod, this one allows you to move much more distance. So you should go for this one. And the last one, as you can see here, this tripod is the one that allows you to move forward with lots of distance by hitting multiple times. Let me show you. The jumping smash motion, the tripod you want is this one, like this. And if you change this tripod to this one, then it completely turns into different skill, like this one. See, it doesn't even move forward, so this is not what you want. The rune that you want to go for jumping smash is Overwhelm rune, which allows you to do more stagger. The next skill is called Running Crash. This is a holding skill. If you hold this skill, you will go forward, and as you can see here, in the first tripod, it has Lucky Core. In the second tripod, this is the important reason using this skill. This skill allows you and your teammate to have additional stagger rate for 6 seconds. So this is called the synergy of stagger. The rune you want to go for Running Crash is Rage. The next skill is the most important skill, and it's also a trademark of Destroyer. It's called Endure Pain. What this skill does is that it gives you 5 seconds of immunity from knockout and push attacks, and also it gives you 40% reduction from incoming damage. If you see the third tripod here, this one allows you to increase the duration of that buff. So for me, it increases my buff for another 5 seconds, which means I'm gonna have that damage reduction and immunity from knockout attacks by 10 seconds instead of 5. And this one here gives you 90% of incoming damage reduction instead of 40. So you should choose either this one or this one. It's all up to you. And as you can see here, in the second tripod, this is the tripod that you want to go for because this is the party synergy tripod, which allows you and your teammate to hit stronger to the mob because it decreases the boss's armor by 24% for 6 seconds. So most of the time you want to use Endure Pain on the boss to apply this party synergy skill. And to do that easier, if you see the first tripod, this skill increases the range of Endure Pain by 15%. The rune you want to go for this skill is the Focus rune, which reduces the mana consumption. The next skill is called Dreadnought. Now, Dreadnought has a high destruction and stagger as well, and this skill is the counter skill for Destroyer. If you see here, the first tripod gives you immunity from knockout and push attacks, and the second one gives you incoming damage reduction. So the rune that you want to go for this skill is called Protection Rune, since this one gives you shield. So literally, if you're using this Dreadnought skill, you will be immune to the knockout skills, and you will also have the reduction of incoming skill with the shield on. So this is a very good skill, not only for countering, but also for defending from some, lethal attacks. And if you see the third tripod, this one that I'm using allows me to hit additionally. So if I use this one, it will hit 2 times. And if I use this one, it will hit 3 times. Now you might ask, what's the point of using the tripod that hits for additional attack? Because this is a blue skill, which means it will do no DPS. So what's the point of using this? It will just increase the motion time. Well, that's because for this Dreadnought skill, the counter applies to all of its attacks, all 3 times. So what I mean is that in Lost Ark, most of the classes have the counter only from the first attack. You know what I'm saying, right? But for Destroyer and for some other classes, there are few classes that has counter skills that are applied to all of the hits for that single skill. So for Dreadnought, unlike other classes counter, it is much more stabilized to land counter. Now we're finally going into the purple skills. Purple skill does the actual DPS for Destroyer. The first skill is called Full Swing. This skill has high stagger with decent amount of destruction. Also, it's the third strongest DPS skill that Destroyer has. This is a charge skill which get benefit from supercharge engraving. You saw that this skill hits for multiple times, right? And if you see this tripod, the second one right here, this tripod increases the damage of the skill whenever it swings its hammer, which means the last swing, the last hit, will do the max damage. If you see the third tripod right here, this one decreases the charging time, but at the same time, it also requires you another charging step, which means, here let me show you. This is the one you want. See that I charge for 2 steps? If you don't use this tripod, then it will be like this. It will just charge for 1 step, which will be very weak. For the first tripod, you can pick either 2. This one increases the attack speed of Full Swing, and this one reduces the cooldown of this skill. So if you go for the cooldown reduction, that means it's not gonna be faster than this one, right? So you have to go for Gale Wing, the Gale Wing rune if you pick the cooldown reduction, and if you pick the increase of attack speed, then you don't have to go for Gale Wing. So instead, you should go for the Overwhelm rune to do more stagger. The next skill is called Perfect Swing, which is the strongest skill that Destroyer has. It requires you to charge. If you see the first tripod, this one gives you additional damage for those mobs which are immune to the knockout attacks. So most likely for Guardian Raid and also Legion Raid kind of stuff. If you see the second tripod right here, this is the tripod that increases the difficulty of playing Destroyer. This one gives you bonus damage if you hit the mob with the edge of its hammer. Here, let me show you. If you hit the boss when you stick to the boss, you do 22. And if you hit it by the edge of the hammer, like leaving the distance like this, you do 36. And if you see the third tripod, this one's same as the full swing third tripod. It gives you another steps. It requires you another step to charge, but at the same time, it will give you much more damage. The rune you want to go for this skill is obviously the Gale Wing. And notice that most of the purple skills doesn't have immunity from knockout attacks, which means, for example, for Perfect Swing, if you are in charging motion and you get hit by a knockout attack, that means that's just a loss of skill, which pretty messes you up. So in order to reduce this kind of situation, you wanna use the Endure Pain that I mentioned earlier, because this skill allows you the immunity from knockout skills, right? So you wanna skill Endure Pain as the last skill to max the core. And then you want to use the purple skills, especially the strongest skill, Perfect Swing, right afterward. Also, when you use the Perfect Swing right after using the Endure Pain, you can apply this party synergy when you hit the Perfect Swing on the mob. The next skill is called Seismic Hammer. This skill has high stagger and high destruction as well. Also, it's the second strongest skill that Destroyer has. If you see the first tripod, this one increases the damage of this skill for each core, and the third tripod increases the damage of this skill. And if you see the second tripod, you've seen this from somewhere, right? This hammer from Perfect Swing. Yeah, this one is the edge bonus, which is a little bit frustrating, but for huge damage, you have to go for this. It's something like mandatory. So if you hit this seismic hammer when you stick to the boss, it does 15, and if you do it like this, it does like twice or more. So it's mandatory for this tripod, and the rune you want to go for is Gale Wing. The next skill is called Power Shoulder, which I didn't mention in the blue skill because for me, I don't really use this much. The usage for this skill is purely for the movement, for additional movement. If you use it, I'll show you. If you use this skill, it moves forward for a lot of distance. But the advantage of using this skill is just having additional movement skill. That's it. Like there's no other advantage that you can get in exchange of other skills, other 8 skills that I'm currently using. If you want more movement skill, you can use this Power Shoulder skill instead of Jumping Smash or Dreadnought. If you are doing a raid that needs counter, then you should use Power Shoulder instead of Jumping Smash. If not, you can use it instead of the Dreadnought. For the Awakening, you wanna go for the second Awakening called Big Bang because this one does more damage than the first one. Now we're into the gravity training skill set. If you want to know about the engraving sets, then please watch the previous video about the engraving guide. Notice that I'm using 4 purple skills instead of 3 because whenever you use purple skills, you can fill up this gauge, and when this gauge hits the max, that's when you can go into a banger mode, the Giga Chad mode. Which is the reason why we use gravity training engraving. So you want to fill up the gauge as soon as possible, and that's the reason why you are using 4 purple skills. And the usage of using purple skills for the gravity training is focused on allowing the player to use the Z mode, the Giga Chad mode, a lot rather than DPSing with these 4 skills. This means that for the purple skills, you don't have to go for the charging tripod or the edge bonus tripods. So instead of those tripod, for example, for a seismic camera, you don't have to go for the edge bonus right here. So you would rather go this one. This one increases the stagger of this skill and also the damage. But of course, the damage increase of this tripod is not as much as this edge bonus, but at least you don't have to hit it by the edge, so it's less stressful and it's easier. And for the perfect swing, also this one you don't have to use the edge bonus, so you would use the same tripod as the seismic camera, which increases the stagger and a little bit of damage. And for the third one, this one was the charging tripod, right? Instead of this, you would want to go for this one because this one just turns the perfect swing skill into normal skill instead of charging skill, like this. For the full swing, it's same as the hammer of rage. And for the first tripod, it's also same. Like you can just go for either one. And this skill right here called Earth Eater, which I haven't shown you in the Hammer of the Rage, is the 4th strongest DPS attack that Destroyer has, and it has a high destruction. Also, it's the strongest stagger skill in Lost Ark. It's not just the strongest stagger skill that Destroyer has, it's literally the strongest stagger skill in the game. If you see the tripods here, this one gives you additional damage, and this one also gives you additional damage, and this one gives you immunity from the knockout attacks. For the runes, you can either go Gale Wing or Overwhelm. Now, I told you that this skill has the strongest stagger in the game, right? And if a skill does much more stagger, then that means it will benefit a lot from the Overwhelm rune, since this rune increases the stagger rate by percentage. And by the way, if you want to use this skill, you have to make some distance from the mob, because if you stick to the boss and use this skill, then it will just hit one time. But if you make a distance, then it will hit both with its hammer and also with its splash damage as well. So let me show you how much stagger it does. If I summon a boss right here, which I can see the stagger like this, okay, here I go. First the stagger synergy, and then use it making some distance with head attack. This much stagger it does. And if you see the blue skills, this is the new skill that I haven't shown you, right? It's called Gravity Impact, and this skill does nothing but gives the lucky core. The only reason why using this skill is because of lucky core. Because if you see here, the chance of lucky core is all differs, from skill to skill, and this skill has the highest chance of giving you additional core. See here, I'm on tripod level 4, and it gives 90% of chance of getting additional core. So in order to run all these 4 purple skills, you need to use Gravity Impact, which gives you a high chance of lucky core. If you need a counter skill for the raid, then you have to go for the dreadnought, which I mentioned earlier, instead of the gravity impact. So this set would be the idealistic gravity training set for counter rays, and putting gravity impact instead of dreadnought will be idealistic for non-countering raid. For the awakening, you want to go for the first awakening called Terra Break instead of Big Bang, because this awakening literally fills up the gauge by max, like this. And you can use the Z mode right away. For the Chaos Dungeon skill set, all you have to know is two skills, Earth Eater and Seismic Hammer, because these two skills are the only skills that you have to know and spam in the Chaos Dungeon. Well, for the Seismic Hammer, the tripod is like this, not much different from the Hammer of Rage. And for the Earth Eater, it's totally different. For the first tripod, you want to go for this one right here, which increases the outer damage of the hammer part, and this one increases the range, and this one is the one that makes the Earth Eater into a holding skill and does massive AoE damage. So let me show you how this works. Let me spam summoning the bosses like this, and if you use the Earth Eater, it spins like this. So if I use it on the mobs, like here, let me turn around and use it, then it will hit all of the bosses like this. So by the way, I already uploaded the Chaos Dungeon for Destroyer, so you can refer to that video and you can see me just spamming Earth Eater and the Seismic Hammer. For other skills, like, it's all up to you. I mean, there is no answer for this. Like, literally, you just have to use Earth Eater and Seismic Hammer. So for others, it doesn't pretty matter. Just go for like any skills or any tripod you want. And also, for the Earth Eater, I haven't mentioned this, but for the rune, if you want to use Earth Eater, you can either use Gale Wing or Bleed, the Bleed rune, because Bleed rune really suits well with this kind of skill, AoE skills, since it applies bleed to all of the mobs that got hit by this attack. Now we're finally into the PvP skill set. Before I go over, I want to let you guys know that I'm not a PvP player, but I used to do it on 3 versus 3 in the PvP arena. So I wanna make a guide of 3 versus 3 skill set that most of the people actually use. So this is the skill set, the mostly used skill set. And if I go over one by one, the Heavy Crush is for the Lucky Core. Of course, Lucky Core is important in PvP as well to enhance the damage of purple skills. And second one is the Dreadnought. If you see here, I just used 4 skill points to apply this one, the immunity from knockout attacks, because immunity from knockout attacks is very important in PvP, right? Also, most of the tripod that increases the damage for blue skills are also used a lot, because PvP is kind of equalized, content, right? So these blue skills become stronger. You know what I'm saying, right? So it's important to use tripods that increases damage for blue skills as well. Next one is Jumping Smash. Do you guys remember that this tripod I mentioned earlier, that you should not use this one instead of this in the raid? Well, in PvP, this one is much better than this one, because this tripod knocks the enemy for lots of time, and this tripod is for increasing the damage. So let's see. If you use this Jumping Smash on this mob, see, it knocks out like this much. And this one right here is Power Shoulder, which I mentioned earlier as well. And if you see the first tripod, it increases the damage. And this one I already mentioned, it increases the distance of its movement. And this one is the reason why you should use power shoulder in the PvP, because this tripod allows you to stun the enemy for 4 seconds at the last hit. So let me show you. You move like this and stun it. Then he gets stunned like this for 4 seconds. The next one is running crash. Well, if you see this tripod, this one reduces the cooldown and this one increases the damage. And the second tripod is the most important tripod. This one allows you to stun the enemy for 3 seconds. So it's like the power shoulder, right? The stun attack. So you basically get 2 stun attacks as a destroyer. So you basically use it like this. In the last hit, stuns. Next skill is Endure Pain. As I mentioned in the raid skill set, this allows you to have immunity from knockout attack, which is very important in PvP. So you want to go for this one that increases the duration of the immunity, and this one gives you shield for 5 seconds, and this one reduces the mana consumption. We're into the purple skill, and for PvP you would usually use just 2 purple skills, because having lots of purple skills doesn't mean that you can hit all those purple skills in PvP. And if you see here, you want to go for Earth Eater, because as I showed you in the Chaos Dungeon skill set, you want to go for the one that has large scope, like this one. This one's very good in PvP because it can hit like multiple opponents. Also, if you see here, I mean others are same as Chaos Dungeon, other 2 tripods right here, but this one is different. This one gives you immunity from knockout attacks, so definitely you want to go for this one. The last purple skill is Perfect Swing, because this is obviously the strongest, of course, in PvP as well. If you see here, of course, you don't want to go for charge tripod, so you want to go for this one here, and this one gives you immunity from knockout. But if you see here, I'm using the edge bonus tripod, and you would ask me that why would you want to go this in PvP, because it's really hard. It's really gonna be hard to hit this tripod. But the reason why using this edge tripod is because there's a way to get this bonus in PvP. You have, as I mentioned earlier, you have 2 stun skills. So by relying on these 2 skills, the stunning skills, you can easily land the perfect swing with the edge bonus. So basically, if an opponent tries to land skill on you, you want to ignore it before it lands by using Endure Pain, and want to stun it like this, and then make a distance with max core, and then hit it within edge bonus. The awakening that you want to go for in PvP is Terra Break, because Z mode is really important in PvP. It's really a banger when it comes to PvP. So you want to use the first awakening to max up the gauge, and then you want to immediately use the Z mode to hit the opponent. And also, this skill, the Z mode, has lots of chance to hit multiple opponents at the same time. Because if you see here, let me restore the identity. Okay, if you activate Z mode, then you can press Z key again to use a special attack, and this attack is not used in raid, but in PvP it gathers the players, the opponents, like this. Once you activate this, you can see here you can press another Z like Berserker, and if you use it, it gathers the players like this, and then you just keep hitting it. In Z mode, you get immune to the knockout attacks, and also from the status conditional attacks like incarceration and freeze and burn as well, like that kind of stuff. And also it gives you tons of shield like this, so it's really a good skill in PvP. you really want to activate this Z mode as much as you can. Well, that's all for today. If you liked my video, please hit subscribe button, which will really help me a lot. Then, until the next time, stay GigaChat boys.